I am your Wednesday love, your Wednesday listen, and today I'm your Wednesday view. So if you happen to be listening over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I am over here on YouTube, okay? With love, Jordyn Anese is the name of the YouTube page. Go over there, check out this episode. It's gonna be a good one. First things first, I want to start with I am doing a no filter challenge, a 90-day no filter challenge. I seen a girl start to do one or will finish one, and she made a video saying how it really changed her brain chemistry. She talked about how she would use this filter that wasn't really that drastic, but it was enough for her not to like the way she actually looked after a while. So she felt like she needed that filter. And a part of me felt her, because there's a filter over on Snapchat that's been keeping Snapchat in business on my phone. I use this filter for everything. It's kind of like pinky, and it just kind of smooths my skin out. It doesn't really do too much altering, but it does enough. And I'm like, yeah, no. So I decided to try it. I'm on day 6. This is day 6. And something I've noticed is that I'm not necessarily like yellow. You know, it's just yellow. Like I'm red. I was standing next to my mom and we were getting ready to take a picture, you know, no filter, the other day. And I'm like, dang, I'm darker than you. She was like, are you? And I'm like, are we looking at the same mirror? You know what I mean? And camera. So I took the picture and I just happened to go back and look at the picture. And I was like, I am red. Like my undertones are red. And it's so funny because it's something I noticed about my dad a couple years ago. Because I always thought like my dad was dark skinned, right? He's not. He's just red. And it's so funny. Like he has a tint to him for sure, but those undertones of red are there. I remember being younger and hearing people say, I got Indian in my family. I got Indian in my family. And I remember my grandmother, my dad's mom, we call her Granny Jackie. Rest in peace to her. But she used to tell us like, you know, her parents were Indian. You know what I mean? I think her mom was like a large percent and her dad was like half or something like it. And she looked it. You know what I mean? She literally looked to be like a Native American woman. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, she would always tell us that. And we just always kind of brushed it off. Well, I did because it was something everybody was saying. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm doing that challenge so far. That's one thing I noticed. And I am noticing that I really like myself. Like, I really like the way I look. You know what I mean? Like, not that I didn't know if I did before. I really don't think I paid attention to it. But because I'm not using a filter, I just see me regularly. I really like the way I show up, you know? So join me. You don't have to do 90 days. You can do like 30 or 60, whatever you want to do. I'm just doing 90 because that's what the challenge presented. And I really want to push myself. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I love to do personally, is like push myself in little areas. So there's a fun fact about your girl. The next thing I want to get into is Young Thug and these calls. Ciao. So Deontay from Grits and Eggs podcast said that if you've never been locked up, then you really don't understand how it feels when you get those phone calls. He's like, you just want to be on the phone. You don't want the phone call to end, because that is your way into, you know, freedom, into like the real world. And he was saying that about 5 minutes into them calls, you forget it's recorded anyway. And you just on there yapping and having a conversation. And I never thought about it like that because I've never been in that kind of trouble. Okay? I've never had to go. But he gave that perspective, and it changed the way that I thought about, you know what I'm saying, the leaking of these calls. You know what I'm saying? Or what was on them, really. The leaking, I just think, you know, they mad they didn't get him to stay forever, or however long they were trying to charge him with. So now they got to leak the calls and try to ruin his life with his friendships and relationships and all of that stuff, because he said some pretty detrimental things or whatever. But blah. The only person who I really want to talk to is Mariah the scientist. Like, girl, are we staying? Are we going? What's happening? And the girlfriend in me wants to be like, you need to leave him, girl. Because he don't respect you. He don't value you. Like, you need to leave him. Even when he was down bad and you was riding, he still didn't value you enough. You know what I mean? And but the girl in me, the person in me, the human in me, right? The person I am, to the core. You know what I'm saying? It's really like, I just hope that she's making a decision that she wants to make. I want her to leave. I'm sure the other girls of the world want her to leave. But I hope that she's doing what she wants to do at the core. Because that's where you win. When you do what you want to do at the core, you get your lesson, whether it's something you repeat or it's something that rocks you to sleep. You know what I'm saying? To the core. But I would be gone. Just in case anybody wants to know. So the next thing I want to talk about is being a boy mom. And I think I talk about parenting a lot on here, but I'm a parent. You know what I mean? Like, what else you want me to talk about? And with that being said, I'm going to tell you about my experience. So last week, they told us that my son and the kids at his school would have to walk in by themselves. Like, parents can no longer walk in with them. It's a closed campus, all of these things. So I'm like, okay, that makes me nervous. You know, I'm thinking about all of the things. Like, he's on the spectrum. He's 5. It's his first year here. Like, what is that going to look like? I'll just take my ID. If I have to walk in, they're going to have to let me in. Like, just a bunch of panicking, thinking, and negative thought, honestly. So the day comes. Monday came, and it was rough. We got to the front door. We got up there, and he was kicking, screaming. I was going to pull my ID out. They was like, no parents. You know, no parents can do that walking in right now. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, dang, what we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, I'm like, I'll just take him home if I have to. And that was the mindset that kind of was going to begin the coddling. You know what I mean? Because he really didn't want me to leave him. But instead, I stayed there and I toughed it out. And I ended up crying because it was just hard. Like, it was kind of hard to see him like that. But I stayed there. I toughed it out. I cried a bit. And he finally let me go. And I just walked out and told them. I told them what class he went to, and I just walked on out. You know what I mean? The mom was at the door, and she was like, I completely understand what you're feeling, Mom. It's okay. And my cousin was there. She hugged me, you know what I mean, and let me know, like, it'll be okay. This is just Monday. It's just the first day of this. I went to my car, and I'm bawling. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I left my baby. He's going to feel abandoned. You know what I mean? That's all I could think was like, oh, my God, he's going to feel abandoned. He's going to feel abandoned. And as I was driving to work, I just thought to myself, you know what? But Kyrie's capable of doing hard things. And you have to be okay with letting him stretch that ability to do hard things. You have to be okay with him exercising his ability to know directions and how to get somewhere. Because if I take him to your house twice, maybe 3 times, he'll know how to get there. No GPS, like homeboy will know if I need to go left or right to get to where you at. He might not say go left, go right, but he'll say go this way, because he knows if I go this way, I'm going towards you. But if I go back the other way, we're not going to you. We can't be. But he knows directions well, not just to my mom's or my dad's, the place that we frequent all the time. He knows how to get to my cousin Pam's house. He knows how to get to David's house. He knows how to get to the store. You know what I'm saying? He knows what store has his favorite suckers. Like, he knows direction. You know what I mean? And I thought about that and I said, you know what? That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. He's going to get used to this. And my cousin texted me, and she told me, the one who hugged me, and she texted me a really sweet message. But she said, you're his safe place. And that gave me so much peace, because it's like, he knows he's safe with me. This place is new. So it's just different. And that gave me so much peace. And it also made me cry. And it's about to make me cry right now, but I'm fighting these tears, girl. But it did, because I'm like, that is just so true. He feels the safest when he's with me, when he's with people he knows, like who he knows loves him. And it just, you know, it really made me feel better. As the day went on, like, I felt better about it. My parents were going to do pickup on like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But I decided to take pickup because I needed to like lay eyes on him and then hear the commentary about what happened today. Like, firsthand, I didn't want it secondhand. But I picked him up and he was great. And then on Tuesday, drop off was cool. Like, we got to the sidewalk and he asked me if I wanted to race. And we raced. I beat him. He didn't care. He laughed the whole way and he went in. He found somebody who he found comfort in. She reached her hand out to him, and he went with her. And it was just a good drop off. But I said that to say this, like, I think about the men who I've encountered as a boy mom now. I think about the men who I've encountered in dating. And like some of the labels that I've given them, or me and my friends have. I remember I dated this guy and I was talking to me and my homegirl was around him. And she was like, your granny raised you, didn't you? Didn't she? And he was like, how y'all know that? And I was like, I just was like, it's a thing. And this was back in 2019. No, not 2019, 2009. This was a long time ago. And I'm like, it's a thing, you know what I'm saying, for grannies. Like, so for grannies to raise. So yeah, didn't she? And he was like, yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's crazy that we clocked that tea. And then there was somebody else who I've dated who was like a mama's boy, granny's baby, and TT's man. Like all three wrapped into one man. And those kind of men can be a little dangerous depending on, you know what I mean? All of those men have their pros and cons, but I think about those encounters with those men, whether they were the two I mentioned that I've dated, that we clocked tea from. I mean, I've dated more than two of them who had that label, but whether it was the ones I've dated or the ones I've been friends with. And I think about that in ways that I raised my son. You know what I mean? I still want him to feel loved. I want him to feel supported by his mom. But I want him to have a sense of being able to do hard things. I want him to have a sense of independence. I think those things are very important with young men. And with me being a mother without a parental partner, it's important that sometimes I die to myself, honestly, and let the hard things ensue for him to come back from on his own. You know what I'm saying? For him to regulate on his own. You know what I mean? I've watched him do it in smaller ways, in some ways that are kind of like, wow, you did that as well. So I know he's capable. So if you're a boy mom, whether you're married or single, and you're listening to this and you watch this and you see this part, just know, that your son can do hard things. And he can, come back from hard things as long as you allow the hard thing to happen. And if he needs you, be there to show up. And if he does not end up needing you, cry about it where he can't see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just my tidbit for moms, for boy moms, married or single. Okay? Very last thing I want to talk about. So today, the last couple of days on social media, I've been seeing quite a few things. And it's led people to having this conversation about being the bigger person. And how they don't want to be the bigger, but they ain't the bigger person. You know what I'm saying? I seen somebody say, like, I'm 5'2", I'm not going to be the bigger person. I seen somebody say, like, F being the bigger person, sometimes you got to get down to their level because X, Y, and Z, da-da-da-da. And you know what? Being the bigger person for me is dead. You know what I'm saying? Well, Christina's gone. Like, she's gone. You've seen the movie. But being the bigger person for me is dead, and not because I want to be on the level of the people who have hurt me or disrespected me or disregarded me, but I just don't choose to be the bigger person. I choose to be the person who I just am naturally. You know what I'm saying? The person who knows what my worth is, the person who knows where I've come from, the person who knows what I've built, what I want my image to look like. Like, I choose to be her, regardless of how I feel. And I think that that's important in a lot of things. Like, the past couple of years, so many things have happened in my life, and I just chose to be the person who I know that I am. The person who I know I want to be able to still walk in certain rooms and there still be respect for me because I was able to respect myself even when somebody else didn't see the value in it. I don't think that being a bigger person is about letting somebody slide. I think that being a bigger person and letting somebody slide, I should say, is dead. That's dead. But I think being who you are and just keeping your standard, that's just life. You know what I mean? And I think that across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like I just mentioned, like being a parent without a parental partner. You won't bring me to a place to tear him down unless you are, you know what I'm saying, one of my friends and we shooting the shit and having some jokes. That's a private space. But you're not going to bring me to a point where I'm disrespecting or disregarding the person who is the father of my child, whether he's active or not. That ain't got nothing to do with how I treat or speak on him publicly. You know what I mean? I don't care if I had a bad experience with somebody who I work with. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to get me to get on wax and disrespect them. Will I speak to my experience? Yes. But I'm not going to disrespect them, and it doesn't matter if they disrespected me. It's just not something I would prefer. I still want to be able to walk into the rooms that I've earned the right to be in, and people not look at me any differently. You know what I'm saying? But I think that my feelings behind being the bigger person are this, because of the season of long suffering I had that lasted 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have not been through a season of long suffering where you suffered and you had to learn to suffer well, where you suffered and you had to learn to work on yourself in suffering, then you don't see the value in not being the bigger person, but to rising to the occasion of who you actually are. And then at the core of me, something I also believe is, if you say I'm a good communicator, I'm a kind person. If you say just those two things, I'm a good communicator, I'm a kind person. When somebody pisses you off or does something that is not favorable to you, are those things still in practice? Because if they're not in practice under inconvenience, then are you really that? And that's something that I've asked myself. That's not something that I'm like asking people, but that's something that I've asked myself in times. You know what I mean? Like, you say you're kind. Are you kind, though? You know what I'm saying? When somebody is rude to you, when somebody has disrespected or disregarded you, are you still kind? When you see them, when they're a part of the group or the occasion, can you still be kind? You say you're a good communicator, but when somebody makes you uncomfortable, can you tell them, like, hey, what you just said, what you just did, that made me uncomfortable. I appreciate it if you wouldn't do it. Without worrying about the vibe or the overall, you know what I'm saying, movement of the room. Are you really that? Are you really that girl if you can't rise to the occasion when there's some kind of controversy coming up against you? And if the answer is no, then you're not that girl right now. If the answer is no, you're not a good communicator. You're working towards it maybe, but that's just not who you are. If you can't find it to be kind when, you know what I'm saying, like when somebody who you don't fuck with is in the room, then that's not who you are. The shit is performative at this point. Like, that's just how I feel about myself, and it's not about other people. But when I hear people make it seem like you gotta forget who you are, what the goal is, because somebody else who ain't got the same goal, who ain't doing the same shit, who ain't on the same type of time as you, and not even in a career space, just in a developmental space, personally. You know what I'm saying? In a character space. Because they didn't, you know what I'm saying? They can't rise to the same occasion that you can. You're going to be with them? Then are you really who you think you are? Like, that's just something for you to think about. And that don't mean that if you're not who you think you are, that does not mean it's a bad thing. That just means that there's work to do. And we've all had and we all have work to do. But when we talk about being the bigger person, I'm not being the bigger person. I'm not going to force myself to not be like you. I'm just going to be like me and recognize what I have going on in the trajectory of my life, regardless of my feelings, because feelings are fleeting. And because I'm not above the inconvenience that you caused. And because regardless of how I feel or what is happening, I'm a good communicator, or I'm a kind person, or I'm just I have a decent experience, a decent life experience. Like, those are the reasons why I can't go to the places you go. Those are the reasons why I can't be involved in the bullshit that you're involved in. I seen a video a couple weeks ago, and I sent it to my homeboy because this is what we've been saying for years. Like, we talk about this all the time when necessary, not just because, but we talk about this all the time. But you got to learn to let people kick it with their kind. And if the people who are inconveniencing you or disrespecting you or whatever, if they are not your kind, if they are not worried about their own trajectory, where they're going in life and how they're developing as an individual, why are you even concerned about the lack thereof kicking it with them? So while being the bigger person is dead, being the person that you are or that you're aspiring to be in moments that are unfavorable is just real shit. So no, don't be the bigger person. Be you. Be a version of you that honors, respects, and recognizes who you are, where you're going, what your goals are, and that some shit just be a fucking distraction. And I know you're not used to me using these terms and these words with you, because normally I give a sweeter deliverance. I'm like super prayerful and thoughtful, and I prayed over this episode, but this episode or this specific topic right here is really, I'm really passionate about it. So I'm decorating the sentence a little bit different. But when it comes to conflict, when it comes to things that are unfavorable and things in life that just have thrown you a curveball, and if in those moments you cannot stand 10 toes down on the character that you've built or that you've tried to sell to people that and say you've built, then you're not really that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just an indicator that it's time for you to get to work in real time. So that's my thoughts. That's this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you'll join in on my 90-day no filter challenge. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's 90 days, 30 days, 60 days, however many days, 10. Don't matter. I hope that if you're a boy mom, you heard me and you understood where I was coming from. And I really hope that if you are in a situation or you find yourself getting into a situation after you hear this, where it's a choose to be the bigger person opportunity, you don't choose to be the bigger person. You choose to honor, respect, and recognize who you are, where you're going, and where you've came from. Then don't fuck up your own trajectory. I love you, and we will talk next week.